President Tinubu proceeds to Brazil from St. Lucia for 2025 BRICS Summit. Court orders Senate to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And Plateau State Crisis Fact-Finding Team optimistic of lasting peace. Hello and welcome to the news desk at 11 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Chinenye Ngoyi. President Bola Tinubu has departed St. Lucia, proceeding to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, for the 2025 BRICS Summit. President departed the Caribbean country after about a week state visit. Prime Minister Philip Pierre saw off the Nigerian leader at the Lucian International Airport, Hewanorra. During the historic state visit, President Tinubu had separate meetings with the Lucian leaders, Governor General Cyril Errol Charles and Prime Minister Philip Pierre. He was at Sanders Grande, where he addressed a special joint session of Senate and House of Assembly. He highlighted the importance of cooperation with St. Lucia and member nations of the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States. In Rio de Janeiro, President Tinubu is one of the 4 African leaders attending the 17th BRICS Summit. Leaders from Egypt, Ethiopia and South Africa are also expected at the summit. At this year's summit, BRICS leaders from countries identified as the world's fastest growing economies converge on Rio de Janeiro, promising to strengthen trade and technology exchange within the bloc against the background of U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff threat. President Bola Tinubu has described the critical infrastructure projects provided by the FCTA as his administration's way of bridging the gap between promise and performance. The president stated this while inaugurating the newly rehabilitated Aguma Palace Radio Nigeria New Market Road in the Gwagwalada Area Council. Onoze Yakubu reports that the president's message was delivered by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, at the event.
Gwagwalada Township roads have been in a deplorable condition for many years. Statistics indicate that for those who live beyond the city center, they have watched development happen from a distance. But history is being rewritten with this infrastructure provision by the present administration. President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, says the administration is not just rehabilitating roads, but building trust, adding that the transformative drive is the product of reform-oriented policies of the present administration.
What makes this moment even more remarkable is that the projects we are unveiling were not imposed from above. They were nominated by the people of Gwagwalada themselves, and this is the kind of democracy we believe in. One that listens, one that responds, and one that delivers. Revenue base of the city, we are investing in roads, schools, hospitals, and people. The newly rehabilitated Aguma Palace Radio Nigeria New Market Road is a lifeline to the communities it connects.
FCT Minister Yesen Wike expresses readiness to initiate more projects that have a direct impact on the lives of the people.
Look at how happy the people are. That's to tell you that these roads have affected their life. Each time I come here for inspection, you can see the joy in them. Are you happy? Are you happy? Do you want more things? Do you want more things? We will give you whatever you want.
The commissioning of this road is a demonstration of our dedication to inclusive governance and also infrastructure renewal in our urban and the rural communities.
The 10-kilometer stretch road constructed by an indigenous contractor was delivered in 8 months. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
Legislative efforts to improve Nigeria's governance structure shifted to geopolitical zones as the Senate sought the opinion of stakeholders on proposed amendments to the Constitution. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The public hearing preparatory to the 6th alteration to the Constitution is being held simultaneously across geopolitical zones with reforms to security and policing, inclusivity, traditional institutions, fiscal environments, judiciary, electoral, as well as agitations for creation of more states and local governments topping the agenda.
Security concerns across the nooks and crannies of the country. So there's clamor for creation of state police in view of the fact that we already have various vigilantes being sponsored by this various state governments.
Devolution of powers. There seems to be a preponderance of opinion that power is so concentrated at the center and therefore power should be devolved to the state.
In Maiduguri, stakeholders said adding the voice of Nigerians in the exercise would enable realignments and adaptation to changing realities for all-round developments.
There is no gainsaying Nigeria's participation in the process of amending the Constitution will strengthen the validity of the Constitution and create a sense of ownership of the Constitution among the citizens.
The traditional institutions are bearing commitment towards building a united Nigeria where peace, justice, and equity cannot be ignored.
The adoption of special seats for women in Parliament is not a favor, it is a constitutional and moral imperative that will enrich Nigerian democracy, deepen accountability, and also promote national development.
We have resolved, as people requesting Katangum State, to see it to fruition, or we will die fighting for it, and our people will continue to look for it.
Let me also acknowledge the fraternal request by our BIM brothers and sisters in Wubak Chiefdom of Borno to join us in Amana State.
The public hearing will be concluded Saturday, though that of the Northwest Zone has been postponed to a later date in honor of the late Alhassan Lantata, who died recently. Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the Nigerian Senate to recall the lawmaker representing Kogi Central Senatorial District, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was suspended for 6 months. The trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako, gave the order in a verdict in the suit filed by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan against the Senate and its leadership. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports.
The parties in this matter are Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan as plaintiff, the Senate, Clerk of the National Assembly, President of the Senate, and Chairman Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions are respondents. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan challenged a suspension by the Senate for 6 months, which was done on March 6, 2025. Ruling on the preliminary issues raised by both parties, Justice Binta Nyako found Senator Natasha culpable of contempt of court following a satirical apology she posted on her Facebook page. The court fined the lawmaker 5 million naira for contempt, which is to be paid into the treasury of the court. Additionally, she is ordered to publish a formal apology on her Facebook page and in 2 national dailies, all within 7 days of this ruling. On the substantive matter, which is the suspension of Senator Natasha by the Senate, Justice Binta Nyako described the suspension as excessive. The court maintained that the punishment meted out by the Senate was unjustifiable and disproportionate. The court faulted Section 8 of the Senate Standing Rules and Section 14 of the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act, declaring both provisions as overreaching. The court held that while the Senate reserves the right to discipline its members, any sanction must be proportionate and must not infringe upon the constitutional rights of the lawmakers' constituents to be represented. The court ruled that the Senate President Godswill Akpabio was not at fault for refusing to allow Senator Natasha to speak during plenary, given that she was not seated at her officially designated seat. Justice Nyako also dismissed the argument by the respondents that the court lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter on the grounds that it concerned an internal affairs of the Senate.
That the Senate should consider recalling her back, although the reliefs are not stated. There's no question asking for suspension to be lifted because it occurred prior to the suspension. So it was more or less an obiter.
With this verdict, the trial court has now become functions officials. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Speedy implementation of the national policy on marine and blue economy is a catalyst Nigeria needs to unlock the potential of the maritime ecosystem to be in a vintage position among the Committee of Nations. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Gboyega Oyetola, at a one-day stakeholders engagement with industry players, say with the legislative framework now ready, it is time to take action. Joel Bobola reports.
Forging a united action is the thrust of this enlarged gathering of stakeholders with the theme strengthening collaboration for effective implementation of national policy on marine and blue economy. The minister Gboyega Oyetola described the Federal Executive Council's approval of the national policy on marine and blue economy designed to revamp the maritime ecosystem as a workable template capable of fast-tracking attainment of the ministry's agenda.
Nigeria is championing the operationalization of the Regional Maritime Development Bank under the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, MOCA, with its headquarters here in Abuja. The bank is poised to provide long-term financing for maritime infrastructure and supporting cross-border trade.
Zero piracy and a 75% performance score in 2024 as evaluated by the Central Results Delivery Coordination Unit under the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Policy and Coordination are among salient achievements of the last 2 years.
We are focused on modernizing our port infrastructure. The federal government has approved the contracts for the reconstruction of the Apapa and Tinkan ports. Procurement is ongoing for the Eastern Port.
Earlier, the Permanent Secretary Olufemi Oloruntola, who identified the input of industry players and joined them to play active parts in its implementation.
Success will depend on how well we coordinate, collaborate, and communicate across all levels of governance and operations.
Other discussions by experts centered on fostering institutional synergy and driving inclusive development across sub-sectors. With impressive performances by various departments and agencies under the ministry, experts are optimistic that the industry will gain traction. In Lagos, Joel Bobola, NTA News.
This is the news desk at 11 on NTA News 24. We'll take a break here. There will be more reports when we return this day.
Here is the morning news. The federal government is strategizing.
Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24.
Welcome to the news update at 11. I am Mina Daniel.
The Federal Road Safety Corps has reacted to viral...
Thanks for joining us on the news desk at 3.
Good evening. Welcome to News Desk at 6. News 24. We're live in Abuja.
What do Nigerians need to know about standards?
PC Limited begins sale of crude oil in Naira.
Factories producing solar panels in Nigeria.
So if this crisis had anything to do with...
Of course. 3 weeks after launching a manhunt for him, operative.
On inflation has become so obvious that the first
Many thanks for staying on. The Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria has confirmed the sale of the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company. This follows months of speculation over its status. Thomas Obetere reports.
The sale of the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company was announced by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of AMCON, Benga Alade, during a press briefing. Alade disclosed that the transaction, valued at 100 billion naira, was nearly double the initial offer, following renegotiations to secure better terms.
Since this new management and AMCON resumed, we have not sold any asset until 2 weeks ago when the board met and they removed the hold on asset sale. Now that it has been removed, I think we've sold about 2 or 3 properties, high value properties.
The AMCON MD reiterated the corporation's commitment to recovering all outstanding debts and assets both within and outside Nigeria. He praised the support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other key institutions in driving the corporation's recovery mandates.
Some of these debtors don't keep their assets here in Nigeria. They took most of the proceeds and took it abroad to buy houses abroad and all that. So we are intensifying our asset tracing beyond the shores of Nigeria internationally. We have actually hired some international asset tracing and they're working.
Alade disclosed that as reforms continue across Nigeria's electricity sector, AMCON remains committed to upholding transparency and accountability at all levels. In Abuja, Thomas Ogbetere, NTA News.
The Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Shehu Mohammed, has warned erring drivers against violating established traffic regulations, assuring the motoring public that there will be no more hiding place for traffic violators. This comes after a landmark judgment delivered during a mobile court sitting in Nyanya within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where 4 recalcitrant traffic offenders were convicted and sentenced to varying days of community service each for blatant violations of road traffic regulations as stipulated under Section 462 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 and the provisions of the FRSC Establishment Act 2007. While reacting to the sentence, the Corps Marshal described the decisive judgment as a strong deterrent to all motorists who persist in flouting traffic rules. He also said that it underscores existing collaboration between the Corps and the judiciary in ensuring that offenders are not only apprehended but also made to face the full weight of the law. Nigeria has continued to witness increased investment in renewable energy, but there are concerns over influx of substandard solar panels and batteries. The Rural Electrification Agency is addressing this with the establishment of mini-grid standardization and simulation center for testing of all renewable energy equipment. Joshua Ojito reports.
Country is experiencing an influx of substandard or used equipment, and we need to get rid of that for us to catalyze investment into the country.
Nigeria identified the challenge likely to erode the gains being witnessed in the renewable energy subsector, and the Chinese government steps in. 18 equipment worth $150,000 donated to Rural Electrification Agency by the Chinese government to set up a world-class mini-grid testing center to ensure all imported and locally manufactured solar panels, batteries and inverters are certified before installation.
We're also going to use this to ensure the sustainability of our mini-grid infrastructure across the country. We're going to use this for research and development and training of our new intake, and making sure that we use this also to continue to develop the technical skill of the ecosystem.
We will arrange some of the engineer to be here to teach how to use these tools for the IEA.
The whole point of the testing center is we don't need to go to these exact environments, but we can stimulate the conditions you have in those environments. Then we can see the output of these devices under those conditions.
It is one of the gains of President Bola Tinubu's visit to China in 2024, where a memorandum of understanding was signed between the two countries. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
The Fact-Finding Committee on Plateau Crisis says it is optimistic that its continued engagement with stakeholders and affected communities across Plateau State will provide the state government with workable solutions to end the incessant violence and restore lasting peace in the state. This was during the committee's visit to Jos South and Barikin Ladi local government areas of Plateau State. Ijoma Ozemena reports.
The 10-member committee assigned by the Plateau State government is saddled with the responsibility of knowing the root causes of the lingering attacks in the state from 2001 to date. It is in this light that the committee has been visiting affected local government areas and communities. As part of its continued engagement with security agencies, traditional leaders, youth groups, and stakeholders, where it discussed the persistent security challenges facing the communities, including attacks, displacement, destruction of farmlands, and property, among others.
Appeal to the government, if you can help us to bring maybe a security outpost around this place, so that we people will be safe.
We here, we want peace.
Write what they have seen, and they will also profile solutions in their recommendations to the governor.
The committee chairman, Major General Nicholas Grujas, notes that peace building requires collaboration among all parties, government, security agencies, traditional rulers, and community members.
We've spoken and we'll have a very useful discussion, and we'll assure you that we'll build on it.
The committee visited Gero and Dogo Nahawa communities in Jos South local government area, as well as Mahanga, Rope, and Gashish communities in Barikin Ladi, where it interacted with affected residents and assessed the extent of destruction in Jos. Ijoma Ozemena, NTA News.
This is the news desk at 11 on NTA News 24. Let's take another look at our major stories. President Tinubu proceeds to Brazil from St. Lucia for 2025 BRICS Summit. Court orders Senate to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And Plateau State Crisis Fact-Finding Team optimistic of lasting peace. Chinese and its partners are collaborating to create sustainable job opportunities, particularly for Nigerian youths. Suleiman Abdulwahab reports that partnership comes as they celebrate embroidery as a powerful tool for skill building and economic empowerment.
In order to increase the economic growth through collaboration, we all need to have what they call capacity building.
These programs offers training, resources, and a supportive space to help people, especially women and young people, build embroidery businesses in the country.
Of contemporary embroidery, we all know this had existed in every facet of life back in the days.
The purpose of this gathering is for people to get awareness on the issues relating to fashion, how they can upscale in the fashion industry, things that are missing, and how to connect with people.
So I want to invest the Nigerian market because this is the first time I come here. So after this investigation, we will go back to our head office and talk about build a branch office here to make the after-sale service market in Nigeria is better.
Panelists at the event highlighted how embroidery can drive economic growth in Nigeria and across Africa. Despite challenges like limited funding and exposure, the program proposed solutions such as grants, mentorship, and digital platforms to help businesses grow.
We have not got kind of a seminar as a stakeholder fashion embroidery. This is the first time with the partners from China to enlighten us how to operate our machines and how to go.
A key highlight was the interest from Chinese embroidering companies who admired Nigerians' designs and are eager to collaborate. This creates exciting opportunities for global partnership and market expansion. In Abuja, Suleiman Tobu Abdul-Wahab, NT News.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu felicitates with Oba Akinloye Owolabi Olakulehin on his 90th birthday on July 5th and the first anniversary of his coronation as the 43rd Olubado of Ibadan land on July 12th. In a statement, President Tinubu says at 90, the royal father embodies the rare blend of age-old wisdom, service and enduring leadership through decades of selfless dedication to nation building and community development. He joins the people of Ibadan land, the traditional institution, and all well-wishers across Nigeria and beyond in celebrating the remarkable life and legacy of a monarch whose reign has been characterized by wisdom, peace and unwavering commitment to his people's progress. President Tinubu describes Oba Olakulehin as a foremost traditional ruler, custodian of culture and tradition, and a revered elder statesman who has devoted his life to serving humanity and preserving Yoruba tradition, identity, and values. And that concludes the News Desk at 11 on NTN News 24. Many thanks for watching. I am Chinenye Nwoye.